Hello, welcome. My name is Alden Reed, and you're watching Arcane Tablets. Thank you for joining me. So I'm feeling good. It's earlier here, still daytime, not a late night video. I'm sober, which is good. It's tough. I still find it very challenging not to drink some alcohol from time to time. Life is just very stressful for so many different reasons. Ideally, though, I do aspire to be generally sober. In fact, I would prefer not to drink any alcohol. But it's tough, right? You know, we're often battling ourselves. There's many levels of desire that exist within you at the same time, which is something I'll talk more about in the future. But right now, I actually want to talk about food, right? And I've actually been trying to make this video for a little while, and this is one trick about being sober, is that it's a little bit harder for me to make these videos because I just get more picky about them. I tend to stop them or delete them or whatnot. You know, it's nice, right? When you're feeling a little bit buzzed, you just kind of feel that flow. And so it can be tricky sometimes. And that's where you have to really lean into other kinds of activities and wellness and whatnot that's going to get you feeling better. But it's okay. I've just got to push forward here and continue with the messages that the universe wants me to get out. So specifically, I want to talk about food and consumption. And there's a whole lot to talk about here, right? And obviously, one of the biggest things that people talk about is whether or not to be an omnivore or plant-based. And I have some very strong feelings about that. And I will make a video about that very soon, okay? Because that is a very important issue. But right now, I just want to focus on the issue of pesticides and GMOs. Very simply put, pesticides are poison, and it is not healthy for living beings to consume poison, right? Now, eating some food with pesticides is not going to kill you. You're not going to keel over right away, I should say. However, it's going to stack up over time, right? And it's probably not a great mystery why so many people are suffering from all this severe illness and chronic disease in our modern world. It absolutely does have a lot to do with consuming pesticides. Now, it also has a lot to do with eating GMOs, and they really go hand in hand. In fact, one of the reasons that so many of these crops are genetically modified is to enable them to put even more pesticides on them. Even worse, some crops are genetically modified so that they actually build in pesticide genes to the actual plants, so that the plants have become literally poisonous themselves. That doesn't really sound like something you want to put in your body, now does it? Okay? And this is challenging, right? Because there's so much pressure to not rock the boat, you might say. People don't want to hear that most of the food that they're eating is not healthy for them, right? And I should also add that GMOs are unhealthy in their own way, right? It's not just that they're letting them put more pesticides on the food. They're modifying many of these organisms, many of the genes, so that your body doesn't really know how to handle or process them anymore. So even setting aside the pesticide aspect, purely speaking, any food that is GMO is also unhealthy for you. And over the long run, it is going to lead to health problems, right? Again, that goes hand in hand, the pesticides and the GMOs. And yeah, again, there's so much other dangerous and toxic and poisonous substances and things in our modern environment. And I'll talk a lot about that in the future. But here's the thing. Food is what you're actually putting in your body, okay? So it's really more important to handle, or to get a good handle, I should say, on what you're eating than anything else, okay? That's really where everything starts and flows from, right? Yeah, definitely, you should be careful about touching too much plastic, about other household products that contain lots of dangerous chemicals, and even these buildings and these structures. There are so many things in modern society, in our modern environment, that are very damaging to your health. But you're not eating your house. I don't think so, at least. You are eating food, and so you want to make sure as much as possible that you are eating food that is organic and GMO free, and you really want both, okay? And I also want to mention, sometimes you can go to the grocery store, here in America at least, and you'll see that USDA Organic label, right? And you'll also notice, though, that there's often a lot of third-party GMO-free certifications, like Project GMO Verified. And you might have heard that USDA Organic means that it's GMO-free. Lies. Not at all true. You can go look up the laws yourself. USDA Organic simply means that it's 95% GMO-free. But 5% of anything that's labeled USDA Organic can include GMOs in it. And that is why there are things like Project GMO Verified, right? Or other GMO-free certification labels, right? Because the government labels are not enough, okay? You do need to look for these independent labels as well so that you can feel more reassured that what you're getting is actually GMO-free, right? That not just that it's organic, but that it's GMO-free as well. And there's not really too much more to say. I think I can actually probably make this a pretty short video, okay? Right? I'm just going to kind of talk about how it's challenging, right? People don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear that the food that they're eating, that the food that the government is not really protecting them from, is causing so much harm. It raises a lot of uncomfortable and unsettling questions about who the authorities are and what they're doing and why they would let this happen, right? And there's so much pressure because food is so social, right? I mean, it's so essential to life, obviously, to get the energy you need to continue living and going. But it's also so much about socializing, going out to restaurants, going over to your friend's house, having meals with your family, right? And when you start to introduce these dietary preferences, oftentimes people will, want to accommodate you in certain ways, but it's more complicated when it comes to organic and GMO-free, because then people start to think about, well, if you don't want to eat it, right, should I eat it? Right? They see that that reflects negatively on the choices that they're making, because you're basically saying, I'm not going to eat this food that you prepared for me, or I'm not going to eat this food that you make at this restaurant that all these other people just come in every day and eat. Because I know that over time, eating all of this food is going to lead almost certainly to certain health problems. All right? And it's not really a great mystery that eating food that's been drastically genetically altered and sprayed with tons of poisonous chemicals is leading to a massive health crisis all around the world, right? So it's challenging, absolutely. It starts at the grocery store, right? It starts with the food that you go and you buy and you bring back to your house and you make for yourself or your family. That's the easy part, really, okay? Yeah, it might cost a little bit more money, but honestly, think about it. Do you really want to pay less money so that you can get cancer in 20 years? Does that really seem like a good bargain? No, it doesn't really seem like a good bargain at all. It seems like nonsense. It's absolutely worth it to pay more money for organic and GMO-free food, because that is real food that your body needs and will not cause long-term damage and poisoning to all of your organs and your cells and everything, right? Okay? This is why people get so many of these diseases, okay? It's not rocket science. You're overloading your body with all of this stuff that it cannot handle. It's damaging cells, and then that leads to chronic disease and health problems. Very simple. Like I said, though, the harder part with this is when it comes to eating with other people that are not necessarily on board. And I struggle with this all the time, right? Partly it's also out of convenience, right? If you're out somewhere, traveling, right? And you just need to get some food. You might not be able to easily go make some food in your own kitchen or something, right? And we are seeing more and more restaurants, especially in certain areas, more in the West Coast, I would say, but other places too, and around the world, that are caring about these things. right, that are offering organic and GMO-free food at their restaurants. But they're few and far between. And it's also tricky with your friends and your family, right? Because you want to get together with them and have meals. That's such a core part of existence. Breaking bread and sharing a meal with your fellow human being. And so it's really challenging and difficult to have to restrain yourself and say, I don't want to eat this food anymore because I know it's not good for me. And I'm sorry that my friends and my family and these other people don't want to realize this, don't want to get it because it's more complicated. Life is already so overwhelming and stressful and complicated as it is, right? Although I would submit to you that eating unhealthy things and poisonous things is probably also adding to your stress level, making you unhealthy in these ways so that you can't make good decisions, right? And it's just a question of how much do you want to make exceptions? And I struggle with this all the time. Again, if you're traveling in a city and you just need some food, people you get to know, right? You want to go over to their house and have a meal with them, right? Especially with your family or people who really might not understand. And it reflects on them. That's why it's so challenging. Because you're basically saying to them, I'm not eating this food because it's bad for my health. Which means that it's also bad for their health too, right? It's not the same as making a dietary choice of saying, I'm going to be dairy free or not going to eat this or that, right? That seems more like a preference. Now, there are some reasons to change your diet in other ways too, and I will talk about that. I will talk about what we should be eating and the implications of eating certain things versus other things in a future video. But irrespective of whatever your diet consists of, it should not consist of poisons and genetically modified organisms. They are not good for your health. I assure you, the powers that be know this. And I know, again, it raises uncomfortable questions. Why is it that we're all allowed to eat all of this stuff? Why is it that genetically modified organisms were basically rolled out in secret, right? Oh, this brand new technology. And the defenders of GMOs will say, oh, we're going to feed the world and do this and that. So why do you battle so hard to have food labeled, or I should say not labeled, that it's GMO? Why? If GMOs are perfectly safe and healthy, right? Such a great thing, a beautiful thing that you're bringing to humanity, you're going to feed the world. Oh, yeah, I've heard that story before. And yet you don't even want people to know that it's in their food, okay? It does not take a rocket scientist to figure out the reason why, right? And yeah, it's heavy, right? It's heavy because it does tell us a lot about who's running things and what kinds of values they have. And we don't need to get into that more. I'm just saying that to explain that it is one of the reasons why people don't want to accept this. Because it's just kind of horrifying to realize that not only have governments failed you, failed to protect you, failed to alert you that you're eating all of this food that is very unhealthy and dangerous for you, but you also kind of start to realize that maybe, just maybe, that's the plan. And that it is not an accident. And there's a reason that they don't want you to know that you're eating GMOs. And there's a reason that they call food sprayed with pesticides conventional. Putting the stigma on organic, making it sound like you're some kind of snooty person, right? Oh, I can't eat the conventional. I need that organic because I'm special. No, you need the organic because you're a human being who wants healthy food, not laced with poison, not created with all sorts of cells and molecules that your body cannot properly digest and handle, right? And so it's very, very important. Again, there's so many other things going on, but what you put in your body is the key. It is the most important thing. Again, like I said, we're going to talk about the food you should be eating as well, but one step at a time here. And the first step towards getting more healthy on your diet, no matter who you are or what kind of things you eat, is to eat organic and GMO-free food. It is very, very, very important. Thank you so much for watching this video. I want you to know that I love you very much and that God loves you very much. We'll see you again soon. Many blessings.